In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take Bogren Digital Krimh Drums from this to this. With just stock Reaper plugins. Stay tuned. Here's a demo of Bogren Digital Krimh Drums in a mix with just stock Reaper plugins. Let me show you the same example without the processing. And just a disclaimer, the only thing on my master bus is RIA limit and my RIA stream, so I can get it to OBS. And let's hear that same example. As you can hear, they just don't punch through quite the same. Still doesn't sound bad. Bogren Digital Krimh Drums is great out of the box. This is Jen's Mumble Pants. What is this? So Jen's Mumble Pants preset. If I turn that all back on right now, you hear that? You can hear the thump from the kick now. Snare cracks. And I achieved all this with just stock plugins. It's very simple. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what DAW you use, as long as you have stock plugins. The general idea is all the same. I'll also have a template for this drum mix in the description down below. Alright, so what did we do? Loop this section and we can go over. So you can hear, if I take that off, it's a huge difference. Put it back on, boom. Alright, so I'll take you through step by step here. Each individual bus, we don't have to go, I'll touch on each individual tom because they all have their own specific EQ curve, but I won't spend too much time on it. And then the tom bus, the snare is all going to one track, one snare track, one kick, one room, the brass, which I have the hats, the ride, and overhead all going to, the drum bus itself, and then my parallel compression bus for that I am feeding the kick, the snare, and the toms, and that's it. Alright, so let's start with the brass. Let's mute the instrumental. And let's just go bus by bus. So if we solo this brass here, turn the processing on and off, you can see I cut quite a bit of the shells out of it. If we get to my processing here, I have a high pass at 204, a dip at 780 at 1.4, and then this is the most important one for me. See what suits your taste, but I like around 7K, and I dip with a pretty decent size Q at about 2 dB, and that's just to cut out any of the annoying frequencies. Without using Soothe or any kind of dynamic plugin like that. I actually do this EQ move even if I am using Soothe. I just think it darkens them up a little bit, clears them up, and they just sound. And then I go into rear comp here, and I put on this Attack Overheads preset, which comes with Reaper. And I'm taking off, what's that? About 7-8 dB when the snare hits, and that's just to even the overhead tracks out. You don't want, well, I don't want too much snare coming through in the overheads, but you do want that that nice crack coming from the overheads. But I'm just trying to even everything up, the cymbals and the shells. Let's check out the toms. So the toms here, if I take off this, you can hear that it gets kind of papery, and that's even with my EQs on. If I take all the EQs off, a little too boomy, a little too papery. Put everything back on, and there we go. We got that nice attack sound with a little bit of just enough low end. So for the individual toms, I'll just show a couple. The general idea is the same. What you want to do is see where the initial attack is, where the fundamental is, and then right past that you want to cut. So around 327 on this one, I cut about 3.5 dB, and then around 1500 I raise it with a nice shelf, 3.5 dB, and that brings out the attack, cuts some of the mud out, and you still get the nice low end here with the fundamental. So that's similar on each of these. See, you just kind of go around and find it. You can see the fundamental hitting right here, and then I drop it out at 286 minus 4 dB, put a shelf on around 1500. So that's the idea on the toms individually. Then we go into this RBJ 1073. I think it's a kind of tries to model a Neve console, if I'm not mistaken. I have a low shelf on. There's no presets in here, so it's just so I have the high pass filter off. I have a low shelf at 220. I raise that up almost 2.5 dB. The mid frequencies around 700. Every tom has treble frequencies between 5 and 700, at least for me. I cut that 5.5 dB, and then I put a high shelf on, and the number might scare you, 15.1, but don't worry about the number. Just go by your ear, raise this bad boy up till it sounds good to you or fits your mix. So that's it for the RB7. It just kind of gives it some of that analog feel, analog saturation into rear comp. And here you're not trying to kill it. See, I'm just kind of kissing it. And I have this hard rock kick stock preset in here, and I just lower the threshold just so I'm kissing it. You just don't want anything to get too out of hand. And then for the final touch, I have this Event JS plugin, Event Horizon Limiter Clipper, and that's just to make sure nothing gets past the threshold. I want all the drum hits to be even, well, not even, but I don't want anything spiking past where you set this. So I just have the threshold at -1.8 and the ceiling at -1.1, and that's just so nothing goes past that. And then you can play with this afterwards. You can play with your actual fader and get them to fit into your mix however you like. let's move over to snare. All right, the snare here, same idea. I put this RBJ 1073 EQ. Excuse me. It's a JS plugin just to give it some of that analog color. I put the high pass filter on 80, the low shelf on 110 because that's basically where the fundamental is, and I boost that a little bit to give it a little bit more beef. Here's that 700 again. Cut that 700. Well, I cut that 700. Gets a little bit of that ring out. These Bogren Digital Krimh Drums have a lot of ring, which can work well in a lot of contexts. But just for my application, I didn't want a whole lot of ring. This was a pretty open sounding track, and I didn't want to overwhelm with ring. So this cuts a little bit of that ring out. And then just to get that crack to cut through, I have the high shelf boosted at 12K, 2 dB. Then that's going into a RIA comp right on this modern rock snare. Aim for 6 dB, but these are already pre-processed pretty well, so you don't want your snare to sound way too over compressed. So I'm maxing out here at about 2.7, 2.8. You just bring your threshold down to just, like I said, I like to just kind of kiss the top where your hardest hits are. Just boom, bring them back even into another this clipper limiter. I like to clip my drums, my shells, and you don't want those spiky transients eating up all your headroom. So this clipper will chop them off, but you still get the nice pop and everything else you need, just without eating up all your headroom. And that's set exactly the same as the last one. Now we can switch over to this kick. You can see a similar theme here. I got the RBJ 1073. No high pass filter. I want all that low end to come through. Low shelf at 60. It's a pretty good starting spot for most kicks, especially in rock and metal. Boost that bad boy 2.3. You can see if I shut this off, we lose all that. Lose all that beef. Boom, boom. Already. Cut out some of the mud around 360. So what we're doing on most of this is we're boosting the fundamental. We're cutting out the frequencies we don't need, the mud, and then we're boosting the high end so it cuts through a mix. And that's what I'm doing here. Here's 15 again. Hear what that sounds like with all that high shelf down. Even at 0. Put it up at 15. Get that nice click. And then we finish it off with the horizon limiter. I don't even think it's doing too much. It's just there to make me feel better, and just in case anything gets a little too out of control. So let's try to the room. Room is one of the most important elements to any drum mix, because that's where you're going to get the realism. If we let me show you. If we mute the room, all our ambience just sounds like a bunch of individual kit pieces being triggered. We put that room in and we get that nice, feels like it's being played in a room, which it was. These drums were played in the room, and this is the room that Bogren Digital Krimh Drums, this is their room mics. All I'm doing is, this is me with the processing on it, and that's how it comes out of the box. So what do we do here? We have RBJ 1073, I am high pass filtering it because rooms can get really kind of boomy and will cloud up your drum mix, and you don't want that. We're getting our beef from the kick itself. That's where we want our beef coming from. If you get too much of this low end buildup in these rooms, it'll really cloud up the drum mix, and I don't like the way that feels. So that's with that off. And that's with just the RBJ's 1073 on there. So high pass filter at 80, low shelf at 220. We're boosting. The 220, I'm trying to get the crack of the snare and the beef of the snare out of the rooms there. And then 3.2K, I'm boosting that bad boy 3 dB. And that's just to get some more of the excitement out of the rooms. And then the 12K boost that comes in this, I'm dropping that bad boy. You don't want, at least I don't want all that high end in my rooms. Bring it back down. We're just trying to accentuate the rest of the drums. You don't want excessive high end in there, especially from the cymbals. You can see if we boost this up. No bueno. No like. So that's the room. Let's see if there's a different section. I'm gonna have to keep listening to the same one. I picked that section because it has all the toms. So let's see what we're doing on the drum bus here. Solo this. If I just shut off my drum bus, still sounds good, but doesn't have all that excitement. Here we are with RBJ 1073 EQ again. High pass filter off. Got a low shelf at 110. Trying to get a little bit more of the punch out of the snare. Again, boosting it 2.6. That 3.2 is good for excitement. So I'm getting a little bit more excitement out of there. Boosting that too. And not really doing anything with the 12K. But you can hear the difference with just that EQ on. Our drum compression. I think I started with this Master Bus New York comp, but it's pretty aggressive. So I just have the attack at around 30 milliseconds, release at 1, or actually I have the auto release on, ratio just under 4, knee size 5.9, and the detector, I guess it's not detecting anything below 63 and above 9,286. And that's just, I'm just kissing it. Less than a dB, but just giving us a nice rounded sound, gluing it together. And then once again, clipping the whole drum bus. You can get a little aggressive with this if you want, but I'm just, I just dropped the threshold to negative 2.1. That was good enough for me. And then last but not least, this is our parallel compression. This is where you can get really aggressive. So 1073 again. I got the high pass on 80. Can't really hear too much of a difference with this. Low shelf 110, boosted to 1.6, 3.2, boosted to 2. But what we're really doing here is smashing it to hell. So I started with this Master Bus new NY comp, and had the attack at 2.7. We're just chopping the transients right off. Release at 26 milliseconds. My ratio, I'm at 20 to 1. That's the idea here, is we're smashing the hell out of it. We're getting some more sustain, just making it a squeezy little sausage. And then knee size 5.9, I think that's default. And these detector inputs are default too. But you can see I am 14, 15, 16 dB of gain reduction here. That's what it would sound like without it. And I'm just sending kick, snare, and toms. Let's see the amounts here. The kick, I am -3, 0 on the snare, and -3 on the toms. And the reason for that is I want more snare being sent to the parallel compression than anything else. It's all about the snare sound. So that is it for... So we bring the instrumental back in. You can see how it fits seamlessly into that mix. Kick punches through, snare cracks, you can hear it above everything, but it's not overwhelming, doesn't poke your ears out. Fits well with the bass line. That's what you want. And this is all with just Reaper stock plugins. So the point of this was to show that you could get any mix to sound pro. All you need is EQ and compression. Any stock plugins will do. Some of the fancier plugins might get you there faster. There might be some AI involved that helps you out. But getting down the fundamentals and understanding why you're doing what you're doing is really what's going to take your mixing to the next level. There might be, auto plugins that EQ, compress, do everything for you. But if you don't understand why they're EQing and compressing the way that they are you actually getting better? So this was just a quick tutorial to show that you ever know Bogren Digital Krimh Drums sound amazing out of the box, and yes, you can use them in a mix and they sound great. You can take them to the next level with stock plugins without spending hundreds or thousands of dollars. But these expensive plugins, you don't need to if you're just getting started or you just want to learn how to do it with Reaper. This was just, I think I used, 3 plugins. I used RBJ 1073 EQ, Reacomp, and Event Horizon Limiter, and got these drums to go from this to this. And you can too. But if you want to see what I did or play around with this yourself, I'm going to leave a link in the description with this template. So if you want to try this template, you have Reaper, I'll leave that down there. It's not going to have the instrumental in it, but it'll be the drum template. So if you have Krimh Drums and you want to try this out, I will have that in the description. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and see you on the next one.
Do you like metal? Like, comment, subscribe.